Hello, everyone. This is Gordon, and welcome to Watch and Code Office Hours. This is session number 100. Just a couple of announcements before we get into the questions. So if you're new to Office Hours, it's a really simple just question and answer session. So if you have any questions related to the material in the Watch and Code lessons, then you can ask me directly, and I'll do what I can to help out. So if you do have a question, you do need to call in though. So everyone that is in the video chat right now, that's kind of the format and the way that we do the questions. So if you're not in the video chat right now, you'll want to get inside. That means if you're watching on YouTube, you'll need to go to the document that's linked below the video in the video description. And when you get there, you'll see this link and just click on that and you'll get into the video chat. Second is you'll want to join the Facebook group to hear about upcoming sessions and in case things change. Very occasionally, like less than 2 or 3 times a year, usually there may be schedule changes to the office hours. So if you want to know about that, you'll want to join the group. And then just sometimes there are updates and announcements about the material. So you want to join that if you haven't yet. Updates from my side. For the past 2 weeks, I've been working on a kind of new version of practical JavaScript, and I have a little demo I can show you. And the main difference is that there are, let's not work right now. I just changed the code and I have a bug in it. But anyway, the main difference you can imagine, assuming that it works and is not broken, this is kind of work in progress, but is that you can now toggle, click to toggle. So before we had click to delete, so you could click delete and then delete something. But now you can click to toggle. So that looks like it works. But there's also a click to edit. And I don't know if it will work since I just made a change. But you can you can kind of see that there too. So you click to edit and click to toggle. And so the new version of Practical JavaScript, I guess once I iron out the bug I just introduced into the code, we'll add those two additional features. And there will, in addition to these kind of more obvious changes, there are going to be a lot of subtle changes that you'll notice if you look at the course again. So those are the kind of things I've been working on in the last few weeks, and just wanted to kind of show you a demo. It's not a big difference. I realize that, but still small steps. So that I just wanted to give you an update on that for practical JavaScript. The second thing that was kind of fun that I did is I recorded an episode with a podcast called JavaScript Jabber, and it's just a conversation about watching code, JavaScript, and I guess how I learned programming. And so if you want to check that out, you could probably just Google, well, if you're on the document, you can just go directly to the link. But if you Google Gordon Zhu JavaScript Jabber, you'll probably get to the same place too. Just keep in mind that there are 2 episodes. So the one that you're going to be looking for is March 28th, 2018. And there was another one I did earlier. I think it was last year. So I guess you could look at that too if you wanted to. So that's it for me. From here, we'll just go into open questions. So I'll try to call on people in loosely the order that they joined. And let's just do that for until the hour mark. So Andrew is first.
Hey, Gordon.
Hey.
I don't have questions.
Yeah.
No questions. Yeah.
Cool. Just here to observe.
Pretty much. One quick update though. I've been working on what you told me to work on when it was with the reduced testing thing and the code I tried myself. So I'm currently working on that. I've implemented both versions and both produce the same results, but I haven't written extra tests to test further possible problems or whatever. So that's pretty much what I want to say.
Cool. Nice work. Next, Yagna. Do you have a question, Yagna?
Hi, Gordon. No questions. Just came here to observe, and yeah, as a matter of update, I just continued working on the book, and yeah, it's just going on well. So yeah, no questions. But thanks.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Yagna. How about Josiah? Josiah? Oh, we can't hear you. Okay, I'll come back to you. I think a new person, Uthamus. How do you say your name?
Hey, Gordon.
Hey.
You there? Can you hear?
Yes.
Hey. Sorry, my name's Amir. I'm new. How you doing?
Amir. What is your username?
It's Euthymus.
Euthymus?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a combination of you, them, us. It's really old. It used to be like a band name way back in the day, and I just kept it.
Got it. Cool. So your name is Amir?
Yes. Yeah, it's Amir.
Awesome.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
I'm new, so I did have a couple questions.
Okay.
Of course, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course.
Non-technical, and I have one technical. Maybe can come later.
Do the technical first.
Really? Okay,
prioritize technical questions.
Well, the technical is something I was working on my own. I was backing off of your course, and I was creating something on my own, and I came out to like a stop point, basically. But it's not something that's from your course, so I don't know. So I understand like there's probably rules here and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so here's what I'll do about that. Since you said it's somewhat related to the content, is that right?
I was basically trying to create something on my own, piggybacking off your course, and going into my question about your premium, which was going to be my non-technical question.
Okay, so how about for your technical semi-related question? Okay. Are you okay to wait to the end?
Okay. And, yeah, absolutely. That's what I assumed anyway. So and then that's fine.
We'll probably have time, and we can get to that first. But in case there are technical questions related to the material, I want to get to those first.
Absolutely.
And then if we have time, we'll come back to you. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. So you said you have non-technical related questions.
Non-technical related questions.
So let's do those.
Okay. First, I'm pretty new. I took your course over the weekend.
What did you take exactly?
The practical JavaScript.
Okay.
Yeah, over the weekend. Great course. I really enjoyed it. And I was actually referred to your course by somebody. I took Colt Steele's intro course, and then somebody said you should go take Gordon's course. So I said okay. And so I took his course in a couple weeks, and then I took yours over the weekend, and it was great. I understood everything. And I'm at the point where I want to jump into premium, but I wanted to ask you what premium entails, because I guess Colt's course was hand holding, which was great. I mean, especially for starting out learning, obviously, and practical was great, and it's sort of in the same hand holding, but for JavaScript, and I learned a lot. It's great. So I just want to know what premium is like. I just want to know what I'd be getting myself into. If what are the challenges? How much are you involved, or how much? I guess what I'm asking is what is the process for premium? What am I going to be doing a lot on my own, and then grinding my brain out first, and then come to you on watching code, and I just want to know what premium is all about.
Okay,
that's really my question.
Just generally, what is it?
Yes.
Have you taken a look at the landing page? I know it sucks and is not super informative.
Your landing page, I was just actually on there. I logged out, and it was actually informative. It was for the practical, but then I went to premium, and I didn't really see anything laid out there. It just said you have to finish practical first. So,
there's more stuff on there. I guess if you haven't yet, the most helpful thing you could probably do is read the reviews, because then you
Okay.
get the student perspective,
Okay.
which is usually a lot different than stuff I say. So that might be more helpful than anything I say.
Okay.
But from my perspective, and there are other students in Premium here too that if they want to chime in, it's still video based. So you still follow videos, so that's the same. There's more support. So for practical JavaScript, the focus is kind of like once a week office hours, and maybe like the Facebook group is kind of like the what you have. With Premium, you have all those things, plus you have a Slack channel just for paying members, and you also have a daily, every single day meeting. Quite a few of the students here attend those daily meetings, and I'm usually there as well. So you have many more opportunities to ask questions, and there's really no excuse. Like I feel like if you get stuck, it's really your fault, and that's kind of the that's why there's so much support, and it's more necessary because it's harder, I think.
Okay.
So that's kind of like the structural difference. In terms of the learning specifically the learning, it's not handholdy. It's not like practical JavaScript where like I do something and then you kind of code along. It's very much it's centered around reading code, I guess is probably a weird concept for you to think about, but because it's quite uncommon.
You said reading code? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reading. So basically the whole idea, and I think the mark of a good programmer is you just give them some code, they can figure it out. Right. So I call it, you can rip apart a code base, fix the bugs, figure out what's wrong, improve it, replicate it, whatever you need to do, you can do, is kind of the way I see what is like, that's the strongest mark for me of a good developer. And so the material is focused on that skill. And so that skill, so for example, before each series, we look at a code base. And at the beginning, I kind of ask you to go through it yourself. And that's hard. And then, each video and then you see my process for dissecting it. So it's not really about even the code base is kind of irrelevant, to be honest. It's about teaching you how to make sense of code, right? So like in very nuanced ways, how do you look at code the way I do, essentially, is what Premium is. Whereas practical JavaScript is like, which way is up, and how do I how do I even do anything?
Right.
And it sets that foundation baseline, and then it's more about what are the nuanced ways that I should think about code.
Okay.
And then with each code base, it's just progressively more difficult. So with each code base, there's not really, I mean, they might as well be arbitrary code bases, and they really are. Like one is called accounting.js. It's about formatting numbers for displaying in financial statements.
Well, accounting was my second curse which I got out of, so that should be interesting.
But like it truly is quite arbitrary, but the kind of thread throughout each video is it's harder. Like each thing's progressively harder.
Well, I was looking for challenging and less of hand-holding, but still having somebody within arm's length. So that sounds good to me. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then I guess I should try to provide more context around like why it's based on reading so much. It's because whenever you need to work on, like, let's say that you started your first job tomorrow, or let's say that you wanted to be a contributor to some software that's already out there, what would be the first thing to do? Well, you would just basically have to immerse yourself in this huge program and figure it out, right? And that's kind of, you can't do anything. You can't even write a single line of code until you have at least some sense of that very large existing program. And so that very much is kind of it's a baseline prerequisite to actually do anything. And you know, it was based on my experience in my first job. Prior to that, I'd pretty much done tutorials and exercises and stuff. And then I was asked to, you know, fix a bug. And then I realized, oh shit, like I had to see how this how this actually fits into this multiple 1,000-line code base that I've never seen in my life, right? And that's kind of it's kind of grounded in those experiences I've had and the experiences I've seen everyone else have too, if you continue and eventually leave tutorials.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess the steam is rolling. You know, I feel good. I feel confident. So I think I do want to jump in and I definitely want to start to alter my way of thinking, you know, on my path of becoming a programmer, because I think it's important, which was, I was going to jump into my second question, which I think your course, the premium course, will help me with, is altering my thinking. Because I don't want to just have memorization techniques. You know what I mean? I want to be able to alter my thinking, or I'm thinking like a programmer. And so that's what I'm looking for in a course after this, you know. And I was going to specifically ask you how you've altered your thinking. You know, I'm new, so I'm just curious. And I know you come from a different background as well. And I was curious how, you know, you've altered your thinking. Just like, you know, I took your, you know, when I took your practical JavaScript course, the task builder. And, you know, for me, it's easy. You just get a piece of paper out and a pencil and you write everything down. But, you know, your brain is processing things you don't know of. And I think it's like that with programming, is, you know, thinking of how you're going to write this program. And so, you know, that's what I want. That's kind of the move I want to go to. So it sounds like the premium would be the right step. So, yep, that's it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, the in terms of the way the thinking is, it's I think you mentioned memorization a little bit. My approach is really like the opposite. So there's something I like to say, which is like, know the difference between someone that knows everything and someone that can figure out everything. Right? You don't want to be the know-it-all. Like, people actually hate that person. We all know that person. We shouldn't aspire to be that person.
Right.
We should be the person that has a filter, right? But like, when they choose to figure something out, they can do it. And they have high confidence in that, but they don't have very high confidence that they know some random thing that you ask them about.
Right.
Very important for Jeopardy, not very important for life, right? and
show's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But right, yes, absolutely.
So that's, you know, I think the reason that we feel like we're preparing for Jeopardy is because school, like testing, school exams are like that. Interviews, unfortunately, like job interviews, unfortunately, can be like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's just like scar tissue from all these bad experiences we've had, like where we just haven't unlearned these kind of silly things that we all do. And that's something I think I had to unlearn as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Samir. And then stick around and we can look at your slightly tangentially related technical question.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Josiah, is your mic working now?
Yeah, sorry, Chrome had disabled I need to make sure Chrome didn't disable my microphone. Appreciate you for coming back around, but I didn't have a specific question tonight. I just wanted to observe and glean some more wisdom.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thanks for joining, Josiah. Sandeep.
Hey, Gordon, how are you?
Good. Thanks. How about you?
I'm pretty good. So this week I'm still in So I'm sorry. I'm still in accounting JS. So I've gotten as far as prototypes and constructors, and at that point I realized like I did not do a good job at understanding the array methods that we did like during the tiny test and a couple of other lessons. So I'm right now reviewing those lessons again. So I kind of went back and like doing a couple of those and like implementing those things for myself. So and also like a couple of videos that you referred to in those videos, like how JavaScript works in the background, like the event loop and async operations, so such things. So kind of reviewing them again. So just trying to get a strong background like all like the way it works in general. So it's been pretty good so far. Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Sandeep. Yeah, and good work with your progress.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, Yagna asked, I guess I'm curious too, what exactly was the issue you had with the array methods?
I did not have any issues. I would say I was just messing about. Like, for example, the whole idea of like why we are writing array.prototype in general, I could not understand it, like not grasp it. I just didn't like bother to question why we have like array.prototype.reduce or like array.prototype.map in general. Like, and a couple of things I saw, and like I told you, like I was not able to make it to the daily accountability, the reviews things because I have a full-time job. So
Yeah.
I spent like some time, like I spent like half a day just going back to Slack channel questions, like just looking at the questions people asked, and I realized that like there's a lot of things that I missed in general. For example, something as simple as what's the difference between like taking a jQuery object by putting it like between the brackets and without the brackets and things like that, like small questions. So I did not want to like miss on these things before I move forward with the rest of the course. So I'm just kind of going back and like trying to just look at the questions that are asked in the Slack channel and kind of review the rest of the lessons in the past as well. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, so just like general stuff. Makes
Yep.
sense. Okay, cool. Thanks, Sandeep.
Thanks.
Let's go to Khan. Khan, you there?
Yeah, hi Gordon, how are you?
I'm good.
Actually, I have a question about, I'm still doing this digestion techniques, and hopefully I think I am the last part. So I'm gonna share my screen. My question is that this app init method.
Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Sure. View, zoom
Or just,
in.
yeah, that works. That's good, yeah.
Yeah, for this app init method, so we set the value of the util store and also we use handlebars compile. I searched this question before on the Slack channel, it's kind of answered, but why we don't do this here, actually var to the template, as we set the basically value of this to the template by using this, and this means app, this app object. But I tried this var to template and replace all of this render and render footer. In the console, it said to the template is not method. I wonder why we set the value of this to template by using this.
Wait, so I don't remember. What was originally in the original app? Does it use this to-do template?
Yeah, this
Okay.
is the original version. This is the original version.
Okay, and when you take that off, does the application still work?
No.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
No, it doesn't. For example,
And
here.
what was the problem exactly? Like, why didn't it work?
It says to the template is not a method because in the next we use this to the template. Yeah, here. This dot to the template.
Oh yeah. Well,
for example,
that makes sense, right?
Yeah, and
this to do template's undefined. Because if you do var.
But why I can't use it like the? Sorry, not here. Just a second. So, app dot to the template.
You can do that. I mean, you have a typo, but in principle you can do that.
So I tried to do it, but it didn't work.
That didn't work?
Yeah.
That's not going to work because
yeah, it's not a function. Yeah.
yeah,
yes.
go back. So this .to-do template is undefined. So
But I removed this.
yeah, I know. So right now it's just you have a variable that's local to the init function. So it's only accessible within the init function. So you're not going to be able. Well, first of all, you can't use that anywhere else. And there's just no to-do template property on the app object the way you've written it now. So if you try to use this .to-do template or app, which is the same thing as app.to-do template, it's undefined. So it's not, which is not a function.
Okay, this is just one way to use this to-do template by defining it this to-do, or there's another solution to access the to-do template.
Well, so for example, if you did app.to-do template, then it would work. So in line 67. So in 67,
like app,
yeah, well, capital.
App, sorry.
This should work. So if you look at the app, see?
Okay, I see.
Do you see what's happening?
Yeah.
So in order to use in order for you to use a to-do template property or function or whatever on the app object, you need to actually save it to the app object. The way you do that is in 67. It's happening in line 67. If you don't do that, if you just declare a variable, then that is just it's just a variable. It is not attached to the app object.
Okay, I see. We use this to attach this to the app object. Okay,
Yeah.
I see clear right now.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
I think it might be helpful in practical JavaScript. There's a section, I think I added it after you finish practical JavaScript, but it's about variables and functions. I don't remember it's like an interlude in the very beginning of the course about like how variables can be accessed.
Yeah, so you circle and then the arrow. Yeah.
So if you apply that thinking to here, if in 67 you just do var to-do template, you are saving the return value of handlebars compile.html, but it's being saved to a variable can't be accessed anywhere else and isn't used anywhere else. And so you might as well not even have that line.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I see clear right now. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Did you have any other questions, Khan? And also, did you run this through the debugger when you got that error?
Yeah.
Did? And did you see that to-do template was undefined?
Yep, but I couldn't figure out why I can't reach out because I just focus. We do here var template and this footer template, and I confused. I said, okay, we define this value by using this, and this means app, and also we use var, and I just confused with var and this, and then couldn't figure out the solution.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess, yeah, I'd probably recommend just going through line by line and then looking at where you're using var, where you're using this, and try to see like why each one is used.
Yeah. And also, yeah, I watched a couple of these bind videos too to understand this, but yeah, it's still kind of confusing, but I'm kind of newbie, so I think it's okay the first time to understand the concept.
Yeah.
So yeah, now it's clear. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Awesome. And was that it, Khan? Did you have any other questions?
I have other question, kind of non-technical, but I want to save it to after this offline
Okay.
tough time. So for now, thank you.
Okay. Let's go to Hernando. What's up, Hernando?
Hey, not too bad. You?
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I actually spent the past week going over practical JavaScript again because I'm still on the beast section, and a couple of weeks ago I took a look at the second question, and it required a knowledge of the jQuery part of the premium content, and I had forgotten everything. So since the basis for that jQuery part, the reading code part, is actually practical JavaScript because it's a to-do app, isn't it? So I decided to go back and do practical JavaScript, and I spent a week doing that. And yeah, I mean, I added a lot of features to it, from making it look like the to-do MVC one. But I actually learned a lot. I was surprised, actually, going back over practical JavaScript, how I mean, things were more clear to me, in a strange way, you know. And I noticed things that I just skimmed over before, and I didn't realize that. It's very hard for me to explain, but it really helped on a different level. I mean, it's like I just went. My understanding was a bit deeper, slightly deeper than what it was when I first went through it. Even though I understood it when I first went through it, but it's like it's gone down another level. I mean, gone up another level. And yeah, so I completed that, and I might actually look at the vanilla to do MVC before I revise the jQuery one, and then go on to answering the beast question, you know. But I'm in no rush, you know. I mean, I can only do so much. I mean, I'm not someone who's gonna. I'm not like a hamster on a wheel. I can only take so much of this stuff, you know. Otherwise, it just breaks down. I don't want to burn myself out, you know. An hour a day, enough for me. That's
Yeah, same. I'm the same.
But yeah. I mean, I was really surprised at how much it helped how much I learned again from going over practical JavaScript.
Yeah,
and, I really made the basic app without the CSS. I made it actually look. I mean, function like the to-do MVC one, like having the input boxes appear, and the actual to-do disappear and everything like that. So that was really enjoyable as well. But I just added that as a little thing. I didn't use any of the glitch or the plunker. I just done my own HTML pages. It's a lot less hassle, less hassle than doing that stuff. But yeah, so that was good. So yeah, so I'm probably going to take a shot at the beasts in a couple of weeks then. You know, the second question of the beasts. But I don't know. I mean, I think Yagner's already finished everything, hasn't he? But he's a bit of a hamster on a wheel, so
that's a compliment, Yagner. Okay, cool. Yeah, it reminds me of sometimes when I have to teach something, I learn it more in depth just because you think you know it, or it's like rereading a book or watching a movie again.
Yeah, and in a strange way. I mean, even though like I said, even though I fully understood it when I went through it the first time, it's like my understanding is even deeper now when I've gone over it a second time, even more than before. It's a strange thing. I mean, I can't explain it, but if a person goes through it again, I mean, your eyes will really light up when you go through it.
Is there one example that
I'm really terrible at explaining things, Gordon, you know? Especially metaphorical things like this. But I'll try and think up something and tell you next week.
No, don't worry about it. That's cool though. It's good that that's been helpful for you.
Yeah, we're just having an argument about answering questions on Slack on the comment section.
Let me take a look at this.
Productive use of time.
Wait, let me take a look at this. Huh. Yeah, I mean, I think answering questions is really helpful because, for example, it's just repeated review. So things you've gone through in the past, it forces you to review one specific part, which is actually, because some people like to review and they like to go back and redo things, but that's not super realistic, because when you encounter code in the wild, you just most often you just see one thing that you need to know about, and questions come out like that. It's just like a random thing that you have to figure out, and so in that sense, it's good, and it kind of reinforces it's review without having to explicitly go and review things. I think it also is really good for checking yourself, because a lot of students think that they understand this stuff, but then they realize that they don't when they have to answer a question, because the bar for explaining is just much higher, and it's often much higher than their understanding is. And so it keeps them honest with their true understanding of the material. Yeah, and I think that the other reason I think it's really important is because when you answer a question, there's an inherent responsibility not to lie, right? And maybe lying is not the right word, but you don't want to make the situation worse. And so I find that a lot of students actually really struggle with this. When they answer questions, they actually make the situation worse, and that's quite common. But it's really important not to do that. And so it's a good way to learn, because if that happens, I'll probably say something like, hey, like you need to actually figure it out before you answer questions, because you're making it worse. You're making the situation worse. And so I think it's just good practice in general.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of students that answer the question, if they haven't done your form. so that kind of gets you all riled up as well, isn't it? I mean, yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think that the last thing is just super helpful for communication, because when you're working on any software project of size, you're going to be working with multiple people, many of whom will be as knowledgeable as you, and so questions is the way that you help your team improve. Right, by answering questions and helping them develop better habits and stuff. So for example, if they ask a question very poorly, perhaps it's better not to answer the question, but instead ask the question better, right? And I think that's how you enforce, you actually help your team improve, which is pretty important. Okay, but yeah, I'm sure we could talk about that a lot more after we go off the air. Let's move to Emery.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
So I have a question about practical JavaScript. In the last part, there's a variable called view. And in this variable, there's a method called setup event listeners.
Can you share your screen?
How do you do that?
It's in the top left. There's a green button with the arrow.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so this here. And so this is the view variable, and this is the
Can you make it a little bit bigger? Command plus.
This,
yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, here. And so my question is that, for example, here this create delete button method is defined, but then you don't need to call it again, right? Whereas for setup event listeners, you define everything within the function, but then after that, you call it again with view.setup event listeners. Why do you need to call it again? So I tried to actually do that so that it won't work anymore. And if you do so, actually you can almost use everything, but it doesn't work after that, the delete button. So the thing is, it's defined already. So I don't understand why, although everything is here, you need to actually to call it again after the variable view is closed.
Okay, so defining a function is itself not a useful doesn't do anything if you just define a function or a method. You have to run it. So does that make sense first as a starting point? So for example, you could I could define a fake function, and you could define it in line 115, and we could define it, and the application will just ignore it. It doesn't matter what that function does. It doesn't even matter if the function like deletes everything.
Okay.
Well, it's not going to happen if we don't run that function, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's probably the most important thing to remember. So given that, my question for you is, when is create delete button, the create delete button method, when does that run?
It runs here, is it? To do li append child. So this adds create delete button to the li in this UL here.
Okay.
So it adds it inside, but can we say it runs it?
So how do you run a function?
Oh, do I run a function? I would, in general.
So think back to the functions, the very, very first lesson of functions, right?
Yeah.
So how do you run it?
Okay, so you define the function, then you need to call the function, right? So for example, if the function takes arguments, you need to pass in the arguments within, and then and then it should run, right?
And if you don't have arguments?
Well, if you don't have arguments, then I guess you just call the function, and by calling it, it will run it.
Yeah. So the key thing is, to run a function, you need a set of parentheses after it. So
Okay.
That is happening in line 90, right?
Yes.
So
here,
every time line 90 runs, create delete button is going to run. And
okay.
line 90 will run every single time what happens. So
okay, it will run. It will run every time. This display to do function runs. So every time this is called, it will call this. It will call line 90, and it will actually apply create delete to do.
That's kind of true. You're 80% correct.
It
will run. That's true. Only run inside display to dos, but within display to dos, it will only run if there are to dos.
It's completed, right?
No, it will only run if there are actually to dos in the to do list. So in line 78, to do list dot to dos, there has to be stuff in there. It can't be an array with nothing in it.
Okay, I see.
Right. So you have two requirements. This create delete button in line 90 will run whenever display to dos is run, and there are actually to do objects in the to dos array.
Okay.
So my question, so that answers the question, when does the create delete button method run? When does setup event listeners run?
Setup event listeners probably doesn't run anywhere else, which is why you need to call it again.
Can you confirm that?
I'm actually looking for it.
So a really good way to see if a function runs is do Command F. Type setup event listeners. And then type open parentheses. And count just the open parentheses, because you don't know what arguments this can be run with. And so how many instances show up? How many results?
Only one.
Which is commented out. So none.
Yeah. Okay, I see. Oh, good. Makes sense.
So now my question for you is, well, if you have a function and you don't run it, then, like I said, you might as well just not have it.
Okay, I see.
Right.
Okay, so we just defined it, but we didn't actually run it anywhere. Okay, I got it.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So when you have a method, or any function, you want to think about, when does this function run? And so let me ask you a related question. So scroll up. So when does display to do's run?
Wait, what is display to do? Display to do, that one, right?
Yeah. When does that run?
Well, it runs.
Can you tell me exactly how many times?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in each handlers. So for in the handlers variable, it's defined. It's called actually at the end of each method. So add to do, change to do, delete to do, toggle completed, and toggle all. So every time those methods actually run, the last line is actually displayed to do. So it calls the function and make it run.
Can you be absolutely sure? Can you actually search display to do's with open parentheses? Okay. Yeah. So it's good to get in this habit so you can be sure.
Okay, so
because if you just type in display to do's, then you might get definitions and then think that, right. So you don't want definitions, you just want the execution.
Okay, so apparently yes, it's only called in the handlers variable.
Yep. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I feel like it seems like you get the idea.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Only had one question.
Okay. Nice. So then last we just have Adil.
Hi, Gordon.
Joe too. Adil, what are you up to? And do you have any questions?
No questions at this stage. Just working through accounting.js with regards to I'm on the second video of the IFEs, and there's no blocks. It's very clear. So I'm just sort of just experimenting with IFEs in the console and trying to get an idea of how it hides its own variables and makes stuff inside inaccessible as well. So it's pretty good.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thanks. And thanks for joining, Adil. And then now last we have Joe. Joe, did you have trouble calling in? Was it full before? Joe?
Second. Yeah, it was full. Okay. So I was watching YouTube, so no big deal. Yeah, I guess I do have one quick question. It's a little one. So I'll just share my screen. Can you guys see the code?
Not yet. Give it a second. Now we can, yeah. Well, we can see Emery. Twice.
All right.
Can you make it bigger, Joe? It's really small.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. This line.
What line?
I'm looking at. Okay.
Which
yeah.
line?
I'm looking at. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wait, what line? Line 49?
Yeah, line 49.
Okay.
Well, I guess line 50 actually. So I'm just looking at this section where it's return object and to string call, and in the video, and I did check with the debugger. I kind of went through it. In the video, it kind of sounds like you're saying that it's returning, I guess it's returning the Boolean value. I don't know. It seemed weird because it sounded like you were saying it's returning the Boolean value. I think someone asked this last week actually, but it looks like it's saying that it's checking to see if object and the toString call object is equal to object, which didn't really make sense, I don't think. Do you see what I'm saying?
So not really.
Okay.
Can you rephrase?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I went through it and I tested it with Okay, I don't see why. I think someone did ask this last week actually. I don't see why you would need object the first part at all. It seems like it would be sufficient to just return toString call parentheses object triple equals object.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't remember the discussion, but it sounds like Yagnev remembers.
Okay.
So the way I read this code is, well, first of all, you need to understand how the ampersand works.
Okay.
If object is falsy, then it will just stop. Only if it's true will it continue and try to evaluate the right side.
Okay.
So it's kind of just like saying, if you have something like false or something, then it'll just be like, well, false. Or
don't check the red.
Right. And then if it's not falsy, if it's truthy, then we'll have a more aggressive test. So we basically have one like very loose test, and then we have a more specific test, right? So if it's like an empty object, it will pass the first part, and then we'll be like, okay, will toString be equal to object? If it's the number 1, right, then it would pass the first test, but it wouldn't pass the second test. But the question that was asked basically is, so you have one loose test and the one more specific test. Why not just have one specific test? Is basically the question. And if that works, I think that's fine. So the way you would test to see if this works is try to think of every single data type that could be passed in, and if it still behaves correctly, then that's fine. I haven't done that work myself, I don't remember did I do that in the video? I don't think I did. But if you went through that exercise and it worked fine, then you could conclude reasonably that you don't really need the object part. But sometimes people just think about it that way, and that's how it comes out. So
yeah, that's kind of what I concluded, that the objects, the first part wasn't really necessary. You could just go with return toString call object or return the value of whether it's the Boolean value of whether it's equals to object or not.
Yep.
So okay. All right. I was just trying to clarify if there was any actual reason for like any function to the code itself, like this part.
I mean, again, I haven't done that experiment, so I'm just conjecturing, and like I would have to run that experiment to be sure about it. So it looks like someone did that in Slack, and I haven't done that, and I don't remember that discussion. So, but I mean, the thing you're pointing out is important. It's that whenever you see code, is it necessary?
Yeah.
Right, and that's a question that we should ask ourselves a lot. And the only way to do that is to test it and stress test it and see it in every scenario I can possibly think of. In every scenario that this function will ever be called, does it work without this part? right? That's something you just have to run, because sometimes there are exceptions and things that you can't just, like, sometimes I'm surprised it just has, there's some weird behavior that I don't remember all the details about, around how everything works. And so I'll just kind of test exhaustively.
Okay, the other, well, I was reading it and I was looking at it, and what I did was I broke it into parts. So I set up the same function, but I only did the return object part, then I did the return to string call, or I did the what's the word for the, I guess, the comparison. I just returned the comparison, I just returned object, and then I even checked to see if object was equal to, would come out, like if you did the comparison between objects or a specific object and object, if it would come out truthy. It actually didn't. And when I kind of like, when I break down the code, it's, I don't know, it's almost like that line by itself, all it does is return the parameter that you put into the function. So it's almost like if you read it from a logical point of view, it seems to not really be necessary, which is what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah, again, like doing the exercise will tell you.
Yeah,
I haven't done it, so I don't know.
Okay, all right, that's cool. That's more than sufficient. Thanks. Everything else is pretty good. I've been going through this. Some of the depth that you go into in the, I guess, some of the videos in the accounting JS section, I thought they were really good. I liked the prototype. I like the elucidation on how prototypes work, because I felt like you kind of dipped into like how JavaScript itself is structured. I don't know, it just it kind of made more sense to me. And then you went through the whole, how, like, because a prototype is a model for something that you're building. And it kind of made me see how, like, the array has a prototype, the strings have their own prototypes, the objects have their own prototypes. And so even though it's like, I guess there's objects and primitives, even the primitives have code working in the background that convert them to objects so that you can deal with the prototypes and do different things with them. So I thought that was pretty useful and interesting, because it feels apparent now that I went through those videos, but it's not that I don't think it's very apparent if you haven't encountered that specific information. So it was pretty cool to see that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty specific stuff. That would be hard to notice on your own. A lot of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. Joe, yeah, I mean, like this situation happens a lot. Like, is this necessary? Most of the time, like, you just really, because it's a question of how much time do you have, and is it really, like, do you really care enough to, you can stop sharing, Joe.
Yeah.
But it's like, do you really care enough to figure out this problem? Oftentimes for me, if it works in all the situations that I care about, then it's fine. And then if I have more time and I really want to clean things up, then I'll be more detailed. So even though you can be super exhaustive with everything and just have the essential, the most important thing first is that it works. And I think a lot of people get obsessed about, like, is this like exactly every single thing exactly necessary? You can definitely figure that out, but sometimes it doesn't matter. So yeah. But yeah, when you need to, sometimes that comes in handy. Just being able to test things out if you do want to figure that out. Okay, Joe, did you have anything else?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think that's it.
Okay, cool. Well, I think that was everyone. I think I got everyone. So what I'll do is I'll just end it here. So I'll stop the broadcast, and typically we have an off-the-air discussion that's a little bit more casual. So, for example, you, them, us will ask us, Amir, has this question he's been waiting to ask. And then I think Joe, you said you had another one too. So if you want to join us for that discussion, then call into the Hangout. If it's full right now, usually people start to drop off, so it'll probably open up. So yeah, so if you're interested in joining us for that conversation, then call into the Hangout. And if you have to run, then I hope to see you next week and hope this was helpful. As always, you can hit me up with any questions or feedback at gordon@watchandcode.com, and I'll be happy to talk to you there. So yeah, well, I'll see you all next week.